Hello, internet world. You're gonna have to forgive me. I'm not a streamer. I'm not. I don't really do TikTok or YouTube very often. I kind of lay low key. But with everything going on in the Middle East and abroad, and we all have our thoughts on what's going on, and I thought it would be helpful I think we all can agree that the founders of this country did a really good job setting it up and running it while in its infancy and for its in its young life, and it's only gone downhill in the past 20th century and whatnot. So I thought it was a good deal. I thought it was a good idea to go back and actually take a look at what George Washington had to say about foreign entanglements. And I was wanting to read an excerpt from his farewell address. And before I do that, I want to give credit to my pastor. His name is Chuck Baldwin, and he sells this collection called the Freedom Documents, and it's a wonderful collection. It's got documents, the founding fathers, their words, it's a collection of important documents from the entirety of the country's history, and I'm blessed to have it. So I titled this video, "What does George Washington have to say about Israel and Iran?" And we're gonna see, because I'm not gonna read the whole the whole speech because it's very long, but I'm gonna cover just this short excerpt, and I'm not gonna lend a commentary to it because it speaks for itself. I know people were not taught this in school. I certainly wasn't. I went through the public school system, and we all know, the quality of education you get in the public school system. So without further ado, I'm just going to read it and let George speak for himself. So, observe good faith and justice towards all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. Religion and morality enjoin this conduct, and can it be that good policy does not equally enjoin it? It will be worthy of a free, enlightened, and at no distant period a great nation to give mankind the monogamous and too novel example of a people always guided by an exalted justice and benevolence. Who can doubt that in the course of time and things the fruits of such a plan would richly repay any temporary advantages which might be lost by a steady adherence to it? Can it be that Providence has not connected the permanent felicity of a nation with its virtue? The experiment, at least, is recommended by every sentiment which ennobles human nature. Alas, is it rendered impossible by its vices? In the execution of such a plan, nothing is more essential than that permanent, inveterate antipathies against particular nations and passionate attachment for others should be excluded, and that in place of them just and amicable feelings toward all should be cultivated. The nation which indulges towards another in habitual hatred or in habitual fondness is in some degree a slave. It is a slave to its animosity or to its affection, either of which is sufficient to lead it astray from its duty and its interest. Antipathy in one nation against another disposes each more readily to offer insult and injury, to lay hold of slight causes of umbrage, and to be haughty and intractable when accidental or trifling occasions of dispute occur. Hence, frequent collisions, obstinate, envenomed, and bloody contests. The nation, prompted by ill will and resentment, sometimes impels to war the government, contrary to the best calculations of policy. The government sometimes participates in the national propensity and adopts through passion what reason would reject at other times. It makes the animosity of the nation subservient to the projects of hostility instigated by pride, ambition, and other sinister and pernicious motives. The peace, often sometimes perhaps the liberty of the nations, has been the victim. I think we can attest to that. We've lived through that. So likewise, a passionate attachment of one nation for another produces a variety of evils. Sympathy for the favorite nation, facilitating the illusion of an imaginary common interest in cases where no real common interest exists, and infusing into one the enmities of the other, betrays the former into a participation in the quarrels and wars of the latter without adequate inducement or justification. It leads also to concessions to the favorite nation of privileges denied to others, which is apt doubly to injure the nation making the concessions by unnecessarily parting with what ought to have been retained, and by exciting jealousy, ill will, and a disposition to retaliate in the parties from whom equal privileges are withheld. And it gives to ambitious, corrupted, or deluded citizens who devote themselves to the favorite nation facility to betray or sacrifice the interests of their own country without odium, sometimes even with popularity, gliding with the appearances of a virtuous sense of obligation, a commendable defense for public opinion, or a laudable zeal for public good, the base or foolish compliances of ambition, corruption, or infatuation. As avenues of foreign influence in innumerable ways, such as attachments are particularly alarming to the truly enlightened and independent patriot. How many opportunities do they afford to tamper with domestic factions, to practice the arts of seduction, to mislead public opinion, or to influence or aware the public councils? Such an attachment of a small or weak towards a great and powerful nation dooms the former to be the satellite of the latter. Against the insidious wiles of foreign influence, I conjure you to believe me, fellow citizens, the jealousy of a free people ought to be constantly awake, since history and experience prove that foreign influence is one of the most baneful foes of Republican government. But that jealousy, to be useful, must be impartial, else it becomes the instrument of the very influence to be avoided instead of a defense against it. Excessive partiality for one foreign nation and excessive dislike of another cause those whom they actuate to see danger only on one side and serve to veil and even second the arts of influence on the other. Real patriots who may resist the intrigues of the favorite are liable to become suspected and odious. What's happening to Thomas Massey right now? While its tools and dupes usurp the applause and confidence of the people to surrender their interests. The great rule of conduct for us in regard to foreign nations is in extending our commercial relations to have with them as little political connexation as possible. So far as we have already formed engagements, let them be fulfilled with perfect good faith. Here, let us stop. Like I said, I don't think there needs to be any commentary on that. We know what George has to say about it. So, yeah, that's like, I know, like I said, I know people were not taught that in school or, probably anywhere in their churches, anywhere. So, I just wanted to let, anybody who was interested in knowing what George Washington would have to say, that's what he would have to say. So anyways, good night.